In our experience, there are several components on your bike that wear out, but people forget to change them. Some things are obvious, like your brakes and your chain, but what we're talking about today are the less obvious things that often people don't realise they've worn out until it's too late. So before you ruin your bike, watch this. The first one is your pulley wheels, or jockey wheels, the little wheels that are found on your rear derailleur. Now, people often remember to change their chain rings, cassettes and chain, but typically neglect these, and they do wear out. Now, they also take a lot of abuse. They often get gunked up with excess chain lube or wax, when that forms a grinding paste which wears them down, and that can massively impact your overall drivetrain efficiency and slow your bike down. They also can seize up if you don't do anything and clean them at all, and then that gets pretty bad. Now, the good news is that simply by taking apart the cage on the rear derailleur, which is really easy to do, you typically only need Allen keys, you can actually take them out, give them a good thorough clean and breathe life into them. But eventually they will need completely replacing, and when you do come to replace them, a top tip is, I'd say it's a part that's worth upgrading. So if you're running Shimano 105 or below, typically your pulley wheels don't have bearings in them. What they have is bushings, and these are a bit crap. Whereas by spending a little bit more money, so you're talking around £15 or sometimes sort of £17 for a set of Ultegra level jockey wheels, that's the point at which bearings come in, and that will, well, it's an upgrade worth doing. It'll make your drivetrain more efficient, and they're just a lot better. A really useful tool for cleaning the gunk off jockey wheels is actually just to use a flathead screwdriver. Now, the next component is your pedals. Now, pedals wear out in two main ways. The first one is the bearings of the pedal, which sit within the spindle itself. Now, if they're worn, the pedal doesn't spin freely. A way you can identify this is just the sound of the pedal might be a bit gritty, but also it'll feel gritty. It won't feel smooth as it spins. They can also seize up, and other things that you can typically notice is play between the pedal and the spindle itself. So if you try and rock the pedal sideways, you'll find that there's a little bit of play, there's a little bit of movement. This shouldn't happen. It should just be solid and not able to move in that plane. This is typically caused by dirt and water ingress into the bearings and just wearing them away, and it's going to result in increased drag while pedaling. You're making the whole system slightly less efficient, and so you're going to have to work that little bit harder. The other area, and this is the one that I find most people overlook, is actual pedal body wear. Now, these are a relatively new pair of Shimano pedals on my bike here, and so you can see that there's very minimal wear on them because I've not had them that long. Whereas this is an older pair of Shimano pedals, and you can see that there's actually pedal body wear here. So this curve you can see has got a little notch in it where the cleat is entering. Now, the problem with that is it can cause over time a loose interface between the cleat on your shoe and the pedal body. This can cause a number of problems. The first one is that you might clip out when you don't want to clip out because the whole system has become slightly too loose. It also can cause inconsistent positioning of the foot within the pedal system, and so that can lead to knee tracking issues and then, well, potentially knee injuries, and people do experience this. The other thing is that it often just creates noise, and so I've seen it on various instances where people are trying to diagnose a creak on their bike, and it's the pedal or cleat system that's worn, and that's what's causing it. So remember, it's not just the pedal as well, it's also the cleat, and that is another part that people do often forget to replace until it's too late. So the solution is quite simple. Just visually inspect the pedal bodies on your bike and then just check that they're not getting too far worn. To show you an example of what I'm talking about with cleats, well, I've raided the changing room here at GCN Megabase. I'm not going to name names as to who these shoes belong to, but it illustrates my point pretty well. So here we have a shoe with a Look Keo cleat on it that is got plenty of use in it. It's not worn, it's been used, but it's perfectly good. This is one that definitely needs replacing. There will be loads of play when that is clipped into the pedal. You can see side on there, there's just barely anything left on it at all. It is just completely dead. The next one I'm going to talk about is batteries. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a bike with electronic shifting, then be aware that the battery performance decreases over time and eventually batteries do die. Now, this can happen prematurely if you get water ingress into them and such like that, but that's relatively rare. And this can happen on the Shimano cigar-shaped batteries that are hidden in the frame, and also the SRAM batteries that you get attached to your derailleurs. Now, the good news is that those components can just simply be replaced and you're good to go when you're going again. And the amount of time that they last, well, it's kind of how long is a piece of string. It's usually massively dependent on the charge cycles that the battery is put through. So the more charge cycles, the more it wears away. But I've known people that have had group sets from, electronic group sets with frequent use that after 3 years, they start to notice issues with the battery and may need to replace it. But it depends on how much you use it, how much you charge it, and where you use it. The thing that people forget, though, and catches people out is the little coin cell batteries. Now, if you're using a wireless group set, these are found in the shifters. That's the same as on SRAM and Shimano. A good thing about Shimano 105, actually, is that they contain 2 of these coin cell batteries, giving it even longer battery life, whereas Dura Ace and Ultegra just have 1. Now, the problem with these is that they last absolutely blooming ages, which means that people forget that they're even there and that they might need replacing. And then you can end up just going to a big event or a big race or something that you've been training a long time for, and then you get caught short because these things run out during or just before your event. So the key thing to do is to stay on top of the amount of life that's in these. The good news is that's relatively easy to do, but a lot of people don't know how to do it. If you use, say, for example, with Shimano, the eTube app, it will show you the status of the battery life in your little coin cell in your shifters. The other good thing to do is to just make sure that you always carry these with you. So if you're going traveling with your bike or you're going on a big bike packing adventure, it's worth carrying a few spare ones because you might struggle to find them in a shop if you're somewhere remote. So I've just gone into the eTube app, and this now allows me to check the status of the coin cell battery life, and it says they're both green, which means they're both good, which is crazy because I've never changed them and I've had this bike about a year. They do last blooming ages. And the last one we're going to talk about is bar tape. Now, people don't replace their bar tape enough. The way I'm going to explain this is think about white bar tape. People don't use white bar tape because it's impractical, because it shows the dirt and it gets very grubby very quickly. And so people tend to opt for darker shades, and black is by far the most common, as you can see it on my bike here. Now, just think about what that means. It doesn't show the dirt. It doesn't mean the dirt's not there, it's just not as obvious to see. So that's actually pretty gross, and I'm going to demonstrate this now by taking this bar tape off my bike, which has been on my bike 6 months. So I'm going to take this off and we're going to show you just how dirty it can get. Changing your bar tape is also particularly important if you're someone who sweats a lot, you're a very salty sweater, and you train indoors, because that sweat and that salt gets in and under the bar tape, and it can accumulate and it can cause corrosion of your handlebar and eventually cause handlebars to fail. This happens on aluminium and on carbon handlebars, and it's something that is pretty rank, but also can end up costing you a load of money. So definitely stay on top of it. But let's see how grubby this bar tape is. Rank. So I've just left my bar tape in this water with a bit of degreaser and some washing up liquid for an hour, and look at the colour of the water. Oh, gross. That is actually disgusting. I think people massively underestimate how unhygienic bar tape can be, and it's something that you're just touching constantly all the time, every time you ride. So yeah, change your bar tape. So in our experience, these are things that people do genuinely forget to change on their bikes, and I think they should change more often. It's not an exhaustive list though, so by all means put your suggestions of other things that people forget down in the comments section below, because, well, it'd be really useful. And if you found this useful, well, hopefully subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next one. I'm gonna go now. Love you, bye.